Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dad Whisperer. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson, and I'm so looking forward to spending this next half hour with you. And today I have a surprise guest, but I'm not going to tell you quite yet who it is, so I'm going to keep you in suspense for a couple of more minutes. But today is the first Monday of the December month of stress for many of you men, where your wallets are going to kind of get a little more workout. And maybe some of you think this is not the happiest season of all, with all that I have pulling me in every direction. Well, I figured that one of the best ways to kick off this month would be to give you dads something to make this month more, listen to the word, fun. Okay, how does that sound? Good? Okay, well, here's the deal. I wanted to give you an idea where you can start a tradition, dads, in your home with your daughters, and a Christmas tradition that will make you the hero you want to be and that your daughter needs and wants you to be. How do I know that? Because it's my story. Okay, so now it's time to tell you who my surprise guest is with me today. Drum roll. It's my dad, Jim Watson. Dad, welcome today.
Ta-da.
I'm so glad you're here.
Well, I am delighted to be here, Michelle. It's just a joy to share the day with you.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, the title of today's broadcast, which this is the On Your Mark. For those of you that have listened, you know I always have 3 points. On your mark. What's the rest, Dad?
Get set.
Then Go. So on your mark is where all of you guys are standing together in a line. I'm your coach in the front, and you're getting ready to run a race, which, as you know, you run one race at a time. So there's one theme each week. And then get set. We're going to fill it in. My dad and I are going to share stories today. And then go is going to be your action step. So on your mark, the title of today's broadcast is Perfume Day. A conversation with my dad. We're going to be talking about an annual tradition that my dad and I have been doing for how long?
Almost 25 years.
25 years.
91, 92.
Yeah, wow, 25 years. So we have really honed this, and we're excited to share the story with you. I wanted you to hear it in my dad's own words so that it would really touch you as dads, hearing from another dad. And we're going to be talking about this amazing day of the year that we both love. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay, we both love it. And it really speaks to the heart of girls, where so much of the fun that we have in life, like whether it's prom, let's think of that, for example, it's all the preparation, the anticipation of the day that's 90% of the fun. And I even had a dad in the last ABBA project tell me that his daughter has already picked the 7 restaurants for the rest of the year for her ABBA project dad-daughter date, just because looking forward to the restaurants that she's done research on. Really, that's most and a lot of the fun. Well, not that it's not fun being with Dad, but you know what I mean. So today we are going to tell you our story. Right, Dad?
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to start just by asking you a few questions, Dad, and you can let those that are listening today hear about our story. So, Dad, before we even get into talking about our Christmas tradition, can you just share a little bit about your childhood and what kind of a model you had from your father in how to be a dad?
Well, unfortunately, I grew up in a home where my father was an alcoholic. And I grew up saying that I would never become like my dad because of what we all experienced in the family. I had 5 brothers and a sister, and so there were 7 of us. But growing up, there was a lot of pain and a lot of trauma in terms of what we experienced. But an experience took place in my early 20s that radically changed my life, and that's when I became a believer in Christ. And
Dad, can I stop you there just for a sec?
Yeah.
I want you to go back to your childhood for a minute. So just so that people that maybe say, I didn't have a great model, so how can I be expected to give more to my kids? So just to review, your dad was an alcoholic.
Yes.
Extreme poverty.
Right.
3 different dads.
Correct.
In the home.
In the home.
So there was divorce, remarriage.
Yes.
So among the 7 kids, 3 different last names.
Right.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence, yes.
With your dad, who was an alcoholic. And, you know, I'll never forget you even telling the story right of your mom putting an iron on your dad's face.
Yes.
So you grew up with a lot of chaos, not a lot of supervision and care.
Right.
So I think that's just important for people to know that you can grow beyond
Yes.
the history that was your own,
Right.
and move beyond that. Okay, so with that backdrop, then in your early 20s.
Ultimately, my dad, because of his alcoholism, wound up dying in a boxcar of all things.
Yeah.
So
homeless.
And so the interesting thing is I thought I would never be like my dad, but guess what? I became just like my dad, and I started drinking. And after almost 5 years of marriage, my wife and I were even contemplating divorce. And then something happened in our life.
And that was where I was along there, wasn't I?
Yes.
I was about 5 years old.
5 years old.
And
we were introduced to a relationship with God. And so both Jan and I accepted the Lord within 4 days of each other. And the amazing transformation that took place was that I came to the realization that our past doesn't have to affect our future. And
that's good.
It can. But truth is something that is dynamic. And what you believe affects how you behave. So as I began to grow in my faith, I began to change how I lived. And that behavior was for the better. And in the course of time, as I went to various conferences to learn how to be a better husband, a better father, a better worker, I was introduced to a concept in the early 90s that it would be a wonderful thing to find ways in which we could demonstrate love to our children. And so having 4 daughters gave me the idea that girls love perfume. They love to smell good.
We sure do.
They're into cosmetics when they're about 12 or 13, and I think even younger now with ear piercings and everything else. But girls like to be beautiful, and perfume is a part of that. So that particular year, I took 3 of my 4 daughters. One was married, and so
I remember that.
I took 3 of the daughters to Nordstrom's and said they could buy any bottle of perfume that they wanted to. But in addition to that, we had gone to lunch beforehand. And,
we made it a whole event.
Yeah, it's a whole day, actually.
Yeah, whole day.
So we... So we went to lunch, and then the joy for me was to sit in Nordstrom's because as soon we would be there for 2 or 3 hours, and to watch my daughters interact with the gals in the perfume department, who were all trying to sell them the most expensive bottle in the world, and the girls were flabbergasted that their dad would let them buy any bottle of perfume that they wanted.
And Dad, do you even remember how sitting there, we would have 10 different scents on our arms,
yes.
our arms, on our hands.
And they all would come by and say, Dad, what do you think of that? Oh, I'd say, that smells great. In fact, that's my favorite. And then the next time they came, I think that's my new favorite.
But you're right. We always landed on the perfume that you agreed smelled good on our skin.
Yes.
So it had to be a collaborative process. It wasn't just us picking and you not agreeing.
But as I say, we'd sometimes sit there for 2 to 3 hours, and I would watch them go from different gals to different gals. But finally, they would come to a decision. And then, of course, we got to know the gals in the perfume counter so well that they would stock me up with samples for a whole year.
So a little
men's cologne.
Little win-win.
So I got a win-win out of the situation.
So, Dad, what has it been like for you, in your heart space? Because I always say, we hear the term daddy's girl, and I'm saying, what is it like to be the dad, watching that happen and unfold in front of your eyes?
Sure. Well, I think one thing as a husband and as a father, we're always thinking of what can we do to demonstrate love that is going to pay dividends. And I can honestly tell you, you can't get any greater dividends out of an investment in a bottle of perfume because
it's true.
That shows to your children, your daughters, that in fact you love them and you care for them.
Yeah.
And they're special. And you wouldn't be spending that kind of money if it wasn't.
Okay, well, Dad, here's the $1 million question that I imagine most men are asking is, how do you justify, quote, throwing away money like that on such unnecessary extravagance?
Well, you always think of the story in the Bible when Mary Magdalene cleanse the feet of Jesus with a bottle of perfume. And
Absolutely.
And the disciples remonstrated him for that and said, "Oh, we could have given this to
Right.
to charity." And Jesus says, "But you only have me once."
I love that you bring that up, Dad, because truly that's one of my favorite stories in the Bible where, she used extravagance, didn't she, to show her love?
Yes.
And then she smelled like the Savior. They both smelled the same, and it was her act of worship. Not that we're saying, going to the perfume counter at Nordstrom's is an act of worship, but it's an act of love, isn't it? A memory maker.
Well, and it was a costly thing. And yet it shows, what her attitude of heart was.
Yeah, exactly.
Her master, her Savior.
Yeah, I love that.
But for me, for my daughters, I all year long, "Oh, Dad, can I get you coffee? Do you want your slippers? Can I get the paper for you?"
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mileage that comes through.
Comes back, doesn't it? Because it's that reciprocal exchange
but
of
more
love.
importantly, each of my daughters knew that their dad loved them and they were loved. So,
there you go. Yeah. Well, if you're just joining us today, this is the Dad Whisperer, and I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson, and I'm talking today with my dad, Jim Watson, about one of our annual traditions called Perfume Day. And we're in the get set part of our conversation today where we're filling this concept in for any of you dads that want to hit it out of the ballpark this year with your daughters for Christmas and start a tradition like my dad and I have, where every December 24th, December 23rd, right in there, we have a tradition of heading to the store and together choosing a perfume that goes on my skin, and my dad, poor thing, he has to pay the bill. And as we all know, right, Dad, costs have gone up in the last 25 years since we started this. Well, you just heard my dad's part of the story. I just want to share a few things about what Perfume Day has meant to me and why I love it as a daughter. How's that sound, Dad?
Sounds great.
Well, part of it is it really is unnecessary and extravagant. I'm not going to lie. I honestly struggle to be okay with receiving such an unnecessary, extravagant gift. But it goes into my heart because I know that my dad is putting his money where his mouth is. He's saying where his treasure is, his money, there his heart is. And that's one reason I love it. It feels like my dad is shouting from the rooftops. Okay, I'm going to start getting teary just talking about this, but just to say that you're valued and you're loved, and I'm putting an investment in you, Michelle. Look at him, whoa, I'm getting all choked up. But just the fact that he takes the time even to enjoy me. I mean, most men, let's be honest, sitting in a chair in the perfume department of Nordstrom's is not something you normally do, is it, Dad?
Not at all.
But doing that, it makes a statement to me. And Dad, how many times have we had women in the department coming up and saying, "I wish my dad would do this with me"?
For sure. Many, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get lots of photos.
Yeah. And people all in the department would just continue to look at us.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
Exactly.
Is this some kind of a celebrity here? And I wanted to say, yes, they're all celebrities.
Oh, but I think, Dad, I love the segue there is I can feel your happiness. You're not sitting there just get this over with.
Yeah,
You're letting it, kind of simmer.
Yes,
it's an experience. Exactly. I love how you say that. It's not, we've made it an event, an experience.
Yes.
You've made it that.
Yeah.
You treat me to lunch. We walk around downtown Portland. We get pictures. It's so special. And here's the other thing. I know that it's a forever memory with my dad. That's what I love. And Dad, I haven't even told you this, I don't think, but I have a little secret. The first day that I came here to the Dad Whisperer, even today, I have got the perfume on that you bought me this past last Christmas. I could smell that fragrance and it was as if you were with me.
Sure.
So when my dad says this is something that keeps on giving, it's the gift that keeps on giving, it's really true. But here's the deal, you guys. If you don't believe my dad's story or my story, I want to share a few more stories with you today, tell you the stories of other dads and daughters where I've gotten their stories this week and said, okay, I want you to be able to tell dads who are listening that may not be fully convinced based on the age of their girls, whether they're young, whether they're older, whether they're married, they might not be convinced that Perfume Day is for them. Well, I want to tell you first the story of Maddie and Steve Pringle. So this is Maddie, age 15. She's a high school sophomore, and her dad started Perfume Day when she was in 7th grade. She said, I said I was going to say Maddie's story. I'm going to start with Dad Steve's story. And Dad, will you represent Steve?
Sure.
Kind of hearing a guy's voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear what Steve
So
said.
here's Steve as a dad, and he's talking about his daughter, and he says, Maddie and I enjoyed our first perfume day on Christmas Eve in 2013, and we've done it every Christmas Eve ever since. It has now become a part of our rhythm, and it is so much fun, underlined. At first, she was all, Dad, that's weird. But then she said, Dad, I really like to do that. And so we did. I think she was shocked that it didn't matter what it cost. $59 for a sense of value beyond a sticker price seemed like a good value to me, and I can't understand why any father wouldn't do that. I suppose many do, but it grieves me that many don't.
Wow, isn't that good? I love hearing a dad's heart about that. And did you guys notice that he said it was so much fun? I want you to listen for how many of these different stories where the dad and the daughter didn't compare notes and they all used that word, fun. Oh, so fun. Here's what Maddie wrote. I think you're going to love hearing a teenager's view of what this was like. She said, the first time we did Perfume Day when I was in 7th grade, I thought it was pretty weird. So Dad picked up on that, didn't he? He said the same thing. She said it felt weird to go to Kohl's and sniff all the perfumes and take a picture. I hated the picture part especially. It felt weird to get perfume since I never had any before and my mom never wears it. But then she said, but I now look forward to it and I get excited to go with him. I still don't like the picture part as much, but I don't mind it. I like going to lunch and getting my mom's gifts with him without my brother. It's always quality bonding time, and I had lots of fun with him. I'm looking forward to this year since I'm not sure which perfume I'll get, and I'm excited to spend that little date with him. You guys, this is a teenager. A lot of dads say, oh, my daughter, she's only into her peers. Dads, if you have a teenager, listen to what Maddie goes on to say. I love doing it each year. It feels like, quote, our thing. It's totally worth it, the time and the money. I wouldn't even care if I didn't get the perfume. I just enjoy being with him and knowing it will for sure happen every Christmas time. And I said, Maddie, what would you tell other dads if they didn't want to do this? And she said, well, I'd tell them that my dad says it's money well spent. And she said, I'm not sure it always is because sometimes I don't even finish the bottle of perfume. But she says, I'd recommend that every dad do this with his daughter, even if it wasn't for perfume. If my dad even took me once a year for donuts and coffee, I would get excited.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome, yeah.
You can see the impact it makes. And they say, I love it when dads send me pictures. So dads, you've got to write me at Dr. Michelle at the Dad Whisperer. Send me your stories of how you did Perfume Day. Send me pictures because they melt my heart. So Dad, let's tell another story. This is Danielle, who's 25, Stephanie's 27, and Dad Mark. Here's how Mark says Perfume Day that he's done for a lot of years now has impacted him.
Well, this is what Mark has written. He says, every year, just after Thanksgiving, both of my daughters started asking me in earnest if I had any funny money set aside for our perfume date and to come up with a few dates to choose from so we can hang out and smell lots of coffee. Now, you know, that's to neutralize your nose so that you can keep smelling perfume.
Okay,
so
Dad, look at the fact that you know that. That proves you've done
well, that's
this.
what happens there at the perfume counter. But he would smell lots of coffee beans and pick out that perfect perfume for each of them. Oh, and they also had as much fun picking out a new cologne for me as well. Our tradition included grabbing dinner, and we had a great time just hanging out and talking. And it truly has become the most anticipated event of the year for us.
Wow. Well, then I went on and I asked Mark, okay, what would you tell other dads? What did he say?
Mark said this. He said, my counsel would be to any dad is that your intentional investment of time will be one of the finest opportunities that you ever have to create those, what he calls ABBA moments. And they will look back on that and they will cherish that more than you can ever imagine.
I love it. Well, here's what Danielle, age 25, Mark's daughter, said. She said, I think Perfume Day is really fun. Catching the words. You want to have fun with your daughters this Christmas? This is how to do it. She said, it's really fun and special to do this with my dad because it's intentional and it's an investment of his time. And she said, it gives us a chance to do something out of the norm. She said, it's really an amazing feeling knowing that my dad wants to take time out of his busy schedule, not only to spend time with his 2 baby girls. Isn't that beautiful? Here's a woman in her 20s. Her sister's married, saying, we're still his baby girls, and to spoil us in the process. While his time alone would be enough for us, she said, what girl doesn't like to be spoiled with some amazing perfume? So here's the dad translation. I think of myself as the dad whisperer decoding daughters to their dads. What she's saying is by creating an experience with your daughters, Dad, that revolves around choosing her favorite perfume, you're giving her a sensory experience that lasts a lifetime. Not to go all psychology on you for a minute, but of our 5 senses, I have learned that our olfactory senses, that's our nose, our smelling, is not only does it bypass our traumatic wiring in our body, in our system, but it's the one that is the most potent and stays the longest. So you talk about a dividend, like you said, Dad, that lasts a lifetime. That's it. Well, let me tell you what her sister had to say, because the beauty is every girl has a little bit more to say. Stephanie, who's married, says as far as impact, it's pretty special because being married now, I don't see my dad as much or get to do as many fun things with him. She said, usually now I do things with my husband. So having this special thing we do together, especially over the holidays when everything is so festive, it's something I look forward to every year. Now listen to this, dads. She said, I've actually been looking forward to our perfume date for a while now. So see, the anticipation matters. So here's the deal. If you are a dad that maybe you don't have daughters, maybe you have a granddaughter. Well, I have a friend from high school. His name is Jim, and we've stayed in contact. And Jim took his 6-year-old granddaughter out one Christmas. This is a few years ago. And I want you guys to hear what she had to say, or what he had to say about the impact on her. He said she's 12 now, lives in Germany. So her dad's in the Air Force and we don't see each other all that much. But he said at that time when she was 6 years old and I took her to Macy's and we had lunch, he said it built our relationship to the place where it is now. And he said she's not even my biological granddaughter. So maybe you're a dad that wants to adopt another girl that you see doesn't have a dad, or dad's not in the picture, and you can step in and say, would you like to do perfume day? Right? Because every dad says, just tell me what to do to fix it. And Jim took his granddaughter out. Her name is Raina. And he said she's now in Germany and FaceTimes me almost daily. He said, I think back on perfume day and it's still a special day for me because I usually go hunting with my sons. He has 3 sons, but he said it reminded me of that. The perfume day set the tone for where we are today. Isn't that awesome, Dad?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just to hear that as a grandfather or a father, you can do whatever you want.
Sure.
To make a difference, to be intentional, you can make that day what you want, dads, granddads, and have it last a lifetime. So here, for those of you dads, like I just said, are science buff and love the facts, you can be reminded that having a sensory experience with your daughters or your granddaughters is going to last a lifetime. And if you are a daughter that says, okay, I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm quite up for perfume. Hey, I got another idea for you. Because maybe you're like Clay's daughters. Clay is an ABBA project dad who started out years ago in 2011. He's now my co-leader. He has a daughter who's like, I am not into perfume. Dad, where did he take her?
Powell's Bookstore.
To Powell's Bookstore. And he said, we are going to have a day there. He said, we went through the books. Here's what he said. 2 of my daughters love perfume and still love to go on the date with me to Nordstrom's or Macy's. And he goes, and they said it was such fun. You see the theme. But he said, price wasn't an option, but we certainly gasped at some of the price tags that are ridiculous. But he said that his daughter, Shelby, is not a perfume girl, and she loves books. So he said, that's where we go. And I get to walk around the store with her and know more about her as we tour the shelves and talk about books. Isn't that awesome?
Oh, that is awesome, yeah.
Well, what if you have a daughter that isn't into perfume and isn't into books? Oh, I've got another idea for you. You could do what Nate did with Maddie, and he took her to one of those painting places. It's almost a paint by numbers on the canvas. The teacher takes you step by step through the process. So at the end of it, they both walk out with a painting. Now, there's a lot of dads that go, that is not my strong suit, painting. It doesn't matter because it's the what, Dad?
It's time together.
It's time together in the experience. Isn't that awesome? So there are ideas for you dads to make this Christmas one that your daughter will never forget. So today, on your mark, that's the topic for today, which has been, Dad?
Perfume Day.
That's the theme, Perfume Day. Maybe you aren't into perfume or your daughter isn't. Well, make it Pottery Day. Go to a store and paint pottery with your daughter. Or you could do a painting day where you go and do one of those like paint by numbers with your daughter. Or Powell's. Go to Powell's Books. Make it a book day. Get set. We've told you our story. We've told you the stories of other dads and daughters. And the go is your action step between today and next Monday. Set a date with your daughter close to Christmas this year where the two of you can hang out, you can connect, you can have a date that will make an investment for a lifetime. Remember, you can always write me at drmichelle@thedadwhisperer.com. You can go to my website, drmichellewatson.com, where I have more free resources. You can find out about how to buy my book. You can also write me. I love to hear your stories. Send me pictures of your dad-daughter dates. Tell me other things you'd love me to cover on the program. Well, dads, have a Merry Christmas as we start this month together, and go dads.